We don't subscribe to the old school way, nor the new school way, only the optimal way. The 80-20 baseball experience with Coach Ball.
Evaluation of long toss. Split decision. Let's come right out of the gate and say right away here at 80-20 baseball, we believe long toss can be a valuable part of a comprehensive throwing program. Long toss can be a useful component to a reliable arm strengthening program. However, we do not believe it is the magic elixir for arm health, nor the silver bullet for arm strength improvement that many make it out to be. For those of you newer to baseball, long tossing is baseball lingo for a throwing routine that includes long distance throws, usually to a maximum distance. Traditionally, there have been two schools of thought regarding long toss. One group has put long toss up on a pedestal and talked about it like it was the only ingredient in their magic sauce. The other group of coaches has backed away from long toss and avoids using it as part of their routine altogether. And then there's a few that were sprinkled in the middle there for years. Here at 80-20 Baseball, we have a split membership. If you were trying to locate our position on one of those popular Venn diagrams back from junior high, you'd find us somewhere in that overlapping part right in the middle. Years of experience as a coach and as a player using and studying both schools of thought lead us to believe that long toss can be an effective part and a productive part of a throwing program. Partial benefits. In this article, I make the case that long toss has received too much credit from one camp and too little credit from the other. We will discuss how long toss can benefit players as part of a larger arm strength routine. We'll also discuss the limitations of long toss and why we recommend it simply be a part of a comprehensive throwing program. My first experience with long distance restricted throwing program came during the summer of 2003. I had just signed a professional contract. I was flown out to North Carolina to join up with my team. When I arrived at the field many hours before the game, two very unexpected things occurred. It's a small world. When I arrived at my locker, I noticed it was located in a row of oversized lockers. Upon seeing the size of the locker, I turned to the clubhouse attendant, aka the clubby, and I said, "Hey, this is super awesome. I get a jumbo locker." He quickly chuckled and said, No, these are the catcher's lockers with space to store their extra catching gear. But since you're a pitcher, you'll be sharing. And in fact, your locker mate is on his way from the airport right now. Well, when my locker mate came through the door 20 minutes later, my locker space, it might have been cut in half, but the world as I perceived it shrunk way more than that. In the door came Matt, a Little League and high school teammate of mine. What a great surprise, and it even got better. In our first professional game, he hit the go-ahead home run in the late innings, making me the winning pitcher. His first professional home run and my first professional win. It was a really cool experience to say the least. Many years removed and thousands of miles away from our home. I was there sharing a professional locker with somebody I grew up with. As Matt and I were finishing up our catch-up session in the locker room after he arrived, the coaches came in the locker room then and announced that it was time for the pitchers to head out to the field for early work. My second surprise of the afternoon was just around the corner, and now this surprise was long toss related. Eye-opener. After the pitchers went through the warm-up routine, we moved into a throwing program, a throwing routine. As I was extending my way back to the 150-foot range, I heard a stern yell coming from across the field. I held up the throw to look over to see the team's pitching coach walking towards me. He took a few more steps and yelled out, "Hey, we don't go past 120 feet here. Bring it back to the cone." And just like that, my long toss, like my locker, had been cut in half. I was puzzled, but I did what he said. I moved back into 120 feet, and we never went further than that the rest of the summer. The organization had put a tight restriction on the maximum long toss distance. Now, if you follow baseball at all, follow baseball training and follow any of this, this is no surprise to you. You've been hearing about this long toss restriction, and I've heard many of times from coaches, agents, and players, especially those players going into the draft, that they actually send out a list, or they send out a letter to all the teams that say, hey, don't draft me if you're going to put a restriction on my long toss routine. All right, and I don't want to dive into that topic right now, but I think that is, it's definitely something that is discussed and something that's obviously super important to a lot of players. Having spent the previous 8 years before that moment of professional baseball, playing for high-quality baseball programs at Esperanza High School in Anaheim, California, and at Long Beach State, I was very familiar with throwing programs and throwing routines. However, those programs at those schools that I had attended never had a distance restriction. They were structured, and you definitely followed a routine, but they never had a distance restriction. Over the following few years, I discovered that organizations across the MLB were adopting this restrictive long toss approach, like I just said, and some of the reasons for restricting the distance had some validity, but more on that later. Pros. In this paragraph, we will outline the various ways long toss can help an athlete. First and foremost, if a player is going to make an accurate throw at a maximum distance, the player must move optimally. There is no room for faulty or wasted movements. Successful long toss requires quality movement from start to finish. To throw accurately and powerfully at a long distance, there is no room for error and no room for a lack of intensity. A second benefit of long toss is the obvious feedback it provides throwers and coaches. The distance magnifies the errors. When throwing at a maximum range, the poor throws are going to be much easier to see because, well, they're going to miss the target by yards, not inches, not feet, but yards, and sometimes 10 or 15 yards. If a set of throwing partners is spaced out 90 feet and their throws are coming in 2 feet off center, those same throws will be 5 to 10 to 15 feet off center when traveling 250 feet or more. The poor throw at 90 feet doesn't always look that bad, but the same shoddy throw at 200 plus feet will significantly miss the mark. The feedback can be very eye-opening and very useful. It can quickly motivate players to find a better way to produce a more athletic, higher quality throw. Furthermore, maximum distance throws require players to optimize momentum, body positioning, and the timing of the kinematic chain. Kinematic sequencing, simply put, is the order in which the body parts move from the initial movement to the finishing movement. To optimize this chain of movements in order to generate a powerful, accurate, maximum distance throw, players must do the following 3 things. 1, correctly use the hips, torso, and legs to create maximum linear momentum. Number 2, maintain a synergistic rhythm with all the moving body parts, i.e., optimizing the sequencing of the kinematic chain. Number 3, maintain proper body positioning throughout, including good torso and hip posture, an optimal arm path, and a naturally strong arm slot. Now, if any of these components is sacrificed, a quality throw cannot be completed. In sum, successful long toss requires athletic movement, and any training method that mandates quality movement is a training method worth using. Drawbacks. Long toss should not be put up on a pedestal like it is by some coaches. Long toss is not a magic elixir. It by itself will not produce incredible arm health and pitching statistics and pitching success. With that said, let's dive into the limitations of long toss. First, long toss does not exactly mimic throws made during games. Stay with me. Maximum distance throwing requires a release angle higher, and in a lot of cases, much higher than that of almost all game throws. A player and a coach must always be very cautious using training methods that do not carry over directly to the game. You want to win the game, you want to have fun in the game, you want to have success in the game. So whatever you do in practice has to correlate with that, has to be centered around being better during a game. Training at high volume with methods that do not transfer exactly over to the game is not always a sound strategy. In many cases, it's not a sound strategy. While a maximum distance throw must be thrown at an upward angle, that angle is rarely used in an official game, like we said earlier. And the only time a throw would have that trajectory would be the rare throw an outfielder makes on a throw from, say, the fence to home plate or from the fence to their cutoff man. And even then, that arc and whatnot is always at a risk. And we're not going to get into how to keep runners from advancing an extra base by missing your cutoff man and that sort of thing. But a high arc throw typically are not something you want to see in a game. And even the outfielder's throw, say from the fence to home plate, isn't recommended, like we said, because it does those things like gives up extra bases to the trailing runner. It's impossible to hit that cutoff man with a throw that has a 20-degree launch angle. While maximum distance throws do utilize a higher throwing angle, those pattern movements can be offset a little bit, or offset for the most part by including a phase of shorter throws following the max distance phase. So bringing it back in, the shorter game distance throws will help to recalibrate. In my opinion, they're not going to totally recalibrate, but they will help to recalibrate to some degree that release angle that's going to be needed in the game, thus allowing the player to benefit from long toss while reducing the side effects associated with the heightened release angle. Easy there, Tiger. Many players like to use maximum distance throwing before games. I believe maximum distance throwing before a game can be used here and there effectively, but it should only be a 1-rep max. And in many cases, I would encourage players not to do extended max distance throwing right before a game. Again, we've said it, we think it's fine to do it at practice, and it needs to have some structure, and it's not the magic bullet, the silver bullet magic elixir, but doing it before a game, I liken it to a football player who goes in the weight room. Imagine a college football player on Saturday morning, 30 minutes before the game or an hour before the game, going in and doing a full leg workout and then going out to the field. Imagine him doing a full squat, deadlift, whatnot, workout, single leg Romanian deadlifts. You're not going to see that. That's unheard of. Now, I'm not saying they don't go do a little workout, and definitely they're going to do a dynamic routine, warm-up routine, and things like that. But by having them do their max workout right before the game, it doesn't make sense insofar as that you want to save your bullets for the game. You want to save what you can before the game. You're not trying to build arm strength before the game. I don't think you need to go 400 feet before the game to help yourself in the game. Everything is about winning the game and playing and being healthy in the game and doing well for your team during the game. And so doing a 300, 400 foot throwing routine before, or for young kids going out to 200 feet before a game, I think you should definitely extend your throws out before a game. But I highly, highly, highly caution from going to a max distance. Save your bullets for the game. And if anything, get back out there the next day, the day after, a couple days later, and get back to that routine during practice where you're extending it out and working on those max distance throws. Do not use pregame throwing as a means to condition the arm. It is not the time nor the place to build arm strength for multiple reasons. The main reason being position players and relief pitchers, well, they can have 2 to 3 hour gaps between their pregame long toss sessions and that critical throw or pitch late in the game. Stressing and then resting the arm is one thing, but stressing the arm, then waiting 3 hours to make the game-saving throw or the game-winning pitch is an entirely different story. Surely, some players will be able to do this effectively, especially the younger they are, at least for a little while. But if you're playing the physiological percentages, the trade-off is not worth it. Players should not be allowed to complete an extensive long toss program right before the game. I'm not saying they can't do the long toss, and we highly encourage it be a part of a throwing routine, throwing program, but not right before the game, or not on a game day for that matter. But if they find it helpful and you've done split testing, you've done some A/B testing on this, and you've done A/B testing on it. In other words, you've done it. You've done the long toss max throwing, and then you've calculated their ERA or even some better statistics in ERA and their success in the game, and then you accounting for all variables, making sure they're not doing anything different, and the quality of competition is exactly the same across the board. Again, you can't have extra, these variables. It's got to be consistent across the board when you're doing a study like that. And unless you can find that it actually helps, I think one can deduce from everything else we know from the physiological world, the strength training world, that it's not a good idea to do that. Now, I'm not saying you can't extend your throws out. It just shouldn't be your full max distance long toss routine the day before the game. Or, I'm sorry, the day of the game. And even maybe the day before the game, too, in a way. That still leaves a lot of time for long toss. It's a slice of the training pie. One last limitation of long toss that players and coaches must keep in mind is that long toss is only part of a proper arm strengthening program. When the goal is to maximize arm strength and maximize arm health, long toss cannot stand on its own as the sole training method. When a player is trying to maximize the arm strength and the arm health, the player must be sure to include additional training modalities such as med ball rotational throws, dumbbell split squats, split squat jumps with torso rotations, plyo ball throwing routines. You can see all these online. You just type those in on YouTube. Long toss can lead to improvements, but it must be combined with other training methods to maximize arm strength. Summary: long toss has a place in the training routine, and it should be structured into a comprehensive throwing program. Understand the limitations of long toss and work around them to reap the benefits while minimizing the unwanted side effects. Caution young players from just going all in or all out. This is one of those things in life that definitely requires balance. Yes, it's good. Not all the time. Yes, it's good, but there's going to be some side effects you got to work around. You got to structure your routine, like coming back in and phasing and recalibrating that arm angle, that arm slot angle, the release angle. Lastly, be sure to couple long toss with a multifaceted strength training program to achieve the optimal results come game time. Here at 80/20 Baseball, we are excited about a proven throwing program that we've developed over the years. And yes, it does include a long toss phase. Years and years of experience, testing, and developing have produced this one-of-a-kind, top-notch throwing program. As a member of the coaching community, as a member of the coaching mastermind community, as a member of the 80/20 Baseball, you're going to receive an age-specific throwing program. And best of all, the easy-to-follow program includes 4 phases: early preseason, preseason, in-season, and pregame. And I guarantee you, that pregame is not going to have that extended max distance, where the other 3 are going to have max distance. We're going to talk about it, and then we're going to also put it into action and stay consistent here. And that's what we did with this. I think this throwing program is outstanding. Again, I'm being biased because we've built it, and I built this kind of over the years using every great resource out there, and from experience of 33 years now in the game. Super, super, super useful. So we've taken the guesswork out of it. All right, guys, this has been Coach Bo. Thank you for your time. Take care.
This has been the 80/20 Baseball Experience.
This is a really good team, and so you have to earn everything you have against them and take opportunities when they present themselves.
Take it to the field.